Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'm discussing my thoughts on episode 8 of the anime series, Megalo Box. Holy hell, man. This episode was lit. I was literally on the edge of my seat all throughout, not least of which because none of the speculatory talking points that I was bringing up in my previous episode discussion video actually came to pass with the opening of this episode. There was no Yuri coming in and you know, sort of ushering Joe and Pops and Sachio out to the ring, realizing Mikio's posturing and everything like that. There was no Lady Shirato, his sister, realizing that and doing same, you know, bringing Joe out to the ring so they could go toe-to-toe with Mikio. For all intents and purposes, when the other leg drops in the opening of this episode, Joe is considered having bowed out, not having shown up. He is effectively handed on a silver platter exactly what Mikio wanted, as potentially being the final notch, the final incumbent into the upcoming Megalonia sort of, you know, event. And I was absolutely floored. I was gobsmacked by that. I was like, oh, most assuredly, something has to intervene. Something has to give. Little did I suspect to be so riveted and compelled by the entire length of the episode as they're figuring out why Mikio was up to doing this to begin with. You know, what information he was after. The fact that he was, in fact, bluffing. He didn't have all of the information he claimed or suggested that he did. That, you know, Joe had a fake ID and all of their bowing out of fights, you know, prior to that and everything like that, that there was some less than legitimacy to Joe's being a part of all of this. And it was all just smoke up their derrieres, you know, so that he could get his way. Of course, this sees Pops being dragged in front of the Yakuza mobster boss guy, and he's all waxing, threatening, like, oh, are you giving up? You don't remember the knife that I have and the fact that you still have another eyeball that you could sacrifice to the cause if you let me down, you know. Sachio, I was surprised Sachio was in that meeting as well, and being pretty mouthy with this tough guy. This mobster and everything, setting them straight and whatever like that, you know. But I loved the sort of figuring things out, as I say, where Pops is like, okay, well, he was strong-arming us. We didn't bow out. We didn't tuck tail and run like, you know, even the mobster, even the mob boss thinks is what actually happened. And this is where the mob guy, he's like, well, you know, it's kind of funny you bring this up. A couple of weeks ago, there was somebody who was sniffing around, and all it would really take is for them to really scrutinize the, you know, the file of the fake identification and everything like that, see something was altered, something was a little bit off with it, but they couldn't have gotten that far. So, you know, he was, for all intents and purposes, blowing smoke up your butts, you know, and you fell for it hook, line, and sinker, and, you know, tisk, and all that stuff. And, but Pops, I love Pops' resolve. I love Sachio's resolve to match, where they're like, okay, we gotta figure out what the hell Mikio is after. What's going on? Is there infighting internally to the Shirato group and everything like that, which we, the viewer, already know is well and truly the case. But this whole aspect was investigative for our main characters, to piecing that together and figuring out how to exploit that notion, utilize that for their own benefit, and be able to recoil from this. Now, little did I suspect they find somebody who is working in the programming of the gear and everything like that, and the infighting involved two different kinds of gear, the kind that Yuri has made a part of his edifice and everything, his fighting and whatever like that, and then Mikio's own, which is the one that is fueled by the AI. Now, I thought it was absolutely gobsmackingly compelling to learn that his AI thing can only read other gear. And that's exactly why he wouldn't want to go toe-to-toe with Joe at all whatsoever, because, of course, we're dealing with gearless Joe. You know, I'm like, oh, man. You know, of course, Pops basically delineates out of this that he was afraid. Mikio was afraid to ever go in the ring with Joe because he could have his ass handed to him. He wouldn't be able to have that predictive movement and everything like that. See where Joe was coming from, you know, seconds, milliseconds before he even knew what he was going to do, what his next move was going to be and everything like that. And, but then, of course, Joe is lamenting and thinking, no, he's got confidence. He knows he could take me to task. It wouldn't be an easy fight if I went in the ring with him, even without the gear and everything like that. And I think, they're painting two sides of the same coin. I think both, there's truth to both sort of thinkings as far as Mikio goes. I think there is a bravado and a confidence on his part, but I think he's getting carried away with it. I think he's, sort of sold the farm on the fact that his AI gear is the best of the best of the best, and it's untouchable. It's impervious to being beaten or anything like that. And I think that's exactly what's going to be his undoing, not only in the ring against Joe, but in the grand scheme of things in the Shirato group. I think he's going to have his ass handed to him 6 ways to Sunday, 6 different ways in one fell swoop. And I was just absolutely gobsmacked by the fact that you have Pops going and talking to the Lady Shirato, trying to appeal to her better graces because of that infighting that they now know is going on from the information they got, and piecing all of that together, knowing that the last thing she wants is for her own brother to be a part of Megalonia. And that's exactly what Pops goes in playing on. He expects to be turned down bold-facedly, which is exactly the move she makes. She locks Pops in the room, and she's going to go through with making Mikio the last incumbent in the Megalonia tournament that is up and coming. And it's just like the whole thing, man. I keep going back to this term, but the whole episode, hook, line, and sinker, was gobsmacking and compelling and intriguing all throughout. And then, of course, not to be undone with Pops down for the count for all intents and purposes. He is locked in a room. You have Sachio and his little troupe watching as the news broadcast is about to make the officiation that Mikio is the final member of the upcoming Megalonia Challenge. And Joe is just gone. He's gone ski. He's on his motorbike and he's going to the event, and he's not going to let things lie. He's going to pick up the slack of his own accord. We have had Pops and Sachio in the background, the Yakuza boss, and all these people, all these machinations going on behind the scenes. And Joe is at the center of it all, but up until now, there's only so much he could have actually done outside of the ring. It's mostly what's in the ring that counts where Joe is concerned. But he's like, I got to pick up the slack. And he goes straight to the horse's mouth, and he impresses upon the Lady Shirato, as well as the entire crowd, that it wasn't right that he was forced to bow out. Even if they're not going to deliberate on what exactly it was that happened and everything like that, she is now aware enough where she tears that Megalonia card in half and hands each corresponding half to the both of them, Mikio and, Joe respectively. And she's like, okay, you get a rematch. And this time we're really going to see who the winner is, who the last vestige of this Megalonia challenge, the last incumbent member of this up-and-coming challenge is going to be. Whoever wins in the aftermath of that fight between Joe and Mikio. And it was just like, man, I had goosebumps. I was completely just riveted the whole way through this episode, as I say. I've said ad nauseum, ad infinitum at this point. It was really exciting to me. I mean, I'm sure there are people who aren't going to have that same level of excitement, maybe even found elements of this episode a little boring, or, not really knew what was going on. But it was exciting, every twist and turn. Again, I relate this series in its plotting and the storytelling style, the characterization, to something like straight out of the 80s, like a gangster, mobster kind of thing, fighter, movie from the 80s, something like that, where there is, machinations going on behind the scenes, where there are gangsters involved, where there are puppet masters, and, people who are just sort of the rooks on the chessboard in this whole grand game, that kind of thing. And I love the fact that Pop, Sachio, and Joe aren't going to be anyone else's puppets. They're going to pick up the slack. They're going to rip, their strings out from their puppet master's hands, and they're going to make whatever call that they have ahead of themselves their own. Whatever future they have, they're riding on. It's something they're going to forge for themselves together as a unit. And it was just fantastic. It was spectacular. I loved it. I can't wait to see the next freaking episode. So yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.